Well, congratulations, East Texas. We officially made it through our earliest sunset of the year. That happened back on December 7th. That was when our sun disappeared over the horizon around 5:15. Now, our sunsets are slowly getting later and later in the year, all the way through summer. By the time we get to the end of February, the sunset moves all the way into the 6 o'clock hour. However, this doesn't mean that we're necessarily gaining daylight just yet, because our sunrises are also getting delayed. So here's what we're looking at. Back when we had our earliest sunrise, or I should say earliest sunset, we had about 10 hours and 6 minutes of daylight. But we're continuing to lose some of that daylight all the way through the winter solstice on December 21st. That's when we have about 10 hours and 2 minutes of daylight. So only about a 4-minute difference there, but you still notice it. After we have the winter solstice, we slowly begin to add daylight back into our days, and by the time we get to February 21st, we're racking in about 11 hours and 15 minutes of sunshine. Now, the reason for this weird discrepancy here is because of the Earth and the sun. So there are two big reasons. First, we have to look at the Earth's orbit. It goes around the sun in an oblong elliptical shape, which means that there are some times of the year when it's farthest from the sun and sometimes when it's closer. When it's at its perihelion, that's when it's at its closest point to the sun. And of course, when it is closer to the sun, that means the strength of gravity from the sun to the Earth is increasing slightly. And what that does, it causes the Earth to speed up a little bit on its rotation around the sun. Now, of course, it is rotating around the sun, but it's also rotating in a circle around its own axis. That means that as we have this little bit of extra speed, it has to go just slightly farther in order to have the sun be in the same position in the sky. So rather than approximately 360 degrees, it has to go around 361 degrees. So that messes with the time a little bit. Not only are we dealing with that, we're also dealing with a tilted Earth. So it's on its axis at about 23.5 degrees. And because of that tilt during the solstices, so winter and summer, the sun appears to be just slightly to the east in the sky. Now, that can delay the time when we approach what is known as solar noon. That's when the sun is at its highest point in the sky. That gets delayed, which of course causes the sunrise and the sunset to be delayed. Our clocks don't account for all of these minute changes that are happening in space. So we are seeing everything just get later and later on our actual clocks. We won't see everything match up again until we have our official shortest day of the year. That's happening on the winter solstice, December 21st. And then the day after, we begin adding daylight back into our days. In studio for CBS 19, I'm Sarah Blue.